Hi, everyone. Today we continue from last time, telling you what exactly happened in Volume 12 of No Game, No Life. The script's a bit long, so no more rambling. Like, save, and subscribe, and let's begin the story of Volume 12 right away. At the start of the story, the Imanity Nation held a parade celebrating the 1-year anniversary of Sora and Company ascending to the throne. Yes, that's right. Sora and Company have now been in the Otherworld for a whole year. This event was organized by Steph. For the sake of political and economic stability, Steph specifically treated the day Sora and Company crossed into the Otherworld as their birthday, and combined it with this 1 year of rule anniversary. She also invited the leaders and dignitaries of 7 allied races to attend to deepen ordinary people's consensus on equality among all races, and to conveniently show hostile nations the current strength and unity of Sora's alliance. The pitiful part is that Sora and his sister both have social anxiety personalities, yet Steph insisted on putting them up on a parade float. Paraded through the streets for a whole week. It was a week worse than death. On the last day, when Steph was about to privately celebrate their birthday, Sora and his sister Shiro already had faces drained of any will to live. Steph originally wanted to comfort Sora, but Sora's mental state suddenly went haywire, and he rambled on incoherently to Steph, saying this 19th birthday wasn't worth celebrating at all. The truly worthwhile birthday was the 18th, because that day meant you could legally buy those adult publications. He also claimed that from 18 onward, every additional year is meaningless, because it only adds obligations while the benefits shrink and the spirit grows number. So Sora believes living is just slowly walking toward death. Therefore, rather than throwing him a 19th birthday, it'd be better to hold a funeral. Meanwhile, Shiro, off to the side, was extremely eager to reach her 18th birthday soon so she could obtain early the right to make a move on Sora. This pair of siblings acting up left Steph speechless, and too scared to pick up the conversation, she just pushed the two of them off to the reception room to greet the friends who'd come to celebrate. At this point, Jabril, Emir Ainz, Braum, Layla, Tyr, Horu, and also Izuna and Ino all came to celebrate Sora's birthday. Each presented the gift they'd prepared. First was Emir Ainz, whose gift to Sora was a risque photo of herself for Sora to use in private to reward himself. Emir Ainz also gave Shiro a birthday gift on the side, a 920,000-word racy novel about Sora, and a boy's love one at that. Jabril had originally wanted to give Sora some research books about the Flugel, but before she could, Emir Ainz mocked her, saying Flugel are all dumb and don't know how to put thought into gifts, which so infuriated Jabril that she borrowed Sora's phone and tablet and went to the bathroom to take a revealing photo of herself as her birthday gift to Sora. Sora silently accepted these generous gifts without a word. Later, Ino gave Sora 5 "You can order Izuna to do anything within a day" coupons. Although Sora promised Ino he wouldn't misuse the coupons on his granddaughter, deep down he'd already schemed how to make Izuna take a bath or make Izuna hand over her tail as a pillow to sleep beside him. Tyr gave Sora and Company some dwarf fine liquor. Though it was non-alcoholic, everyone acted opposed to Sora drinking, which so annoyed Sora that he wanted to change the law to allow drinking at 19. Shiro joined the mischief, saying she'd change the law to allow marriage at 12. Layla planned to give herself to Sora, but since Layla can't leave water, Sora and Company deliberately sealed her in a bottle so she couldn't come out and cause trouble. Bram gave nothing at all, and Steph remade the 2 matching outfits that Sora and Shiro were wearing when they first crossed over here and gave them to the two. Anyway, everyone celebrated happily all day. Then at night, around 2 a.m., while everyone was sound asleep, Sora was about to take Amir Ains's birthday gift and take matters into his own hands when Tyr suddenly appeared before him. Sora was relieved his underwear wasn't off yet. Tyr came to ask Sora a heart-wrenching question. During the day, Jabril and the others had let slip that Sora's alliance was actually at a disadvantage, and Tyr, who hadn't attended the big meeting at first, was confused about it and wanted to know what was going on. But before Sora could answer, Jabril, Emir Ainz, and Shiro all suddenly appeared beside Sora, cut Tyr off, and forced Tyr to come ask later, telling her to learn to read the room. Sora thought, "Wow, so you all never slept? You've been watching me this whole time? Do I have any privacy left at all?" To quickly cool down these ladies' jealous anger, Sora chose to pull his pants up and sit everyone down for a proper talk. After calming Shiro and the others, Sora told Tyr the current situation. The world is now split in two. Even humanity is now divided into two nations, which means the people of this world may well end up in a fight to the death. But Sora analyzed that the alliance opposing them is not united, because the alliance led by the elves proposed a war goal of dismantling and dominating all the races Sora leads. So as for the resources of Sora's nations, will the elves in the end share them out among the other allies, or swallow them whole? Clearly, this is an uncertain factor. This will make the Draconia, Giants, Demonia, Lunamana, and some Phantasma led by the elves inevitably grow suspicious over the elves' uneven distribution of resources. So since the Elves Alliance declared war on Sora and company, 4 nation versus nation game battles have taken place, and Sora and company have won every one, never once losing. By rights, Sora's strength should be utterly dominant, but the problem is that Sora's goal is not to destroy any race and to form alliances on equal terms. So even if the elves send other races to challenge Sora, even if those races lose to them, Sora can't force those people to fully obey or become his subjects. This means Sora can only be like Zhuge Liang with his 7 captures of Meng Huo, letting each race that loses to them betray them and return to the elves' side. As a result, even though the members of the Elves Alliance distrust each other, if they join Sora's alliance, one loss means having their resources divided up and their whole race enslaved. Whereas if they join the Elves Alliance, losing means nothing happens at all. As this snowballs, the people in the Elves Alliance will never genuinely join Sora. The longer it drags on, the more likely rebels appear in Sora's alliance, turning around to join the elf side, until Sora and company finally head toward destruction. But Tyr asked, puzzled, then couldn't they just proactively challenge the elves? As long as they prove to everyone that Sora and company can never lose, there's a chance to reverse the situation and break the elves' alliance apart. But Sora told Tyr that Shiro had run the calculations several times and found that a proactive attack has no 100% guaranteed method of success, because they've always been wary of a certain person sabotaging them from within. Just as Sora was about to say this person's name, an explosion did indeed go off outside the royal castle. It seemed a meteor had struck nearby. While everyone was bewildered, not knowing what was happening, Tyr, as if she knew something, hurried to hide behind Sora. But the next second, Tyr was, like a rabbit about to be slaughtered, hoisted up by the scruff of her neck from behind. And this person was none other than the dwarves' true plenipotentiary, Vaig, who'd gone to outer space for 3 months searching for the big chest planet. It turned out this guy really never gave up pursuing Tyr and actually found the so-called Big Chest planet, then flew back by spaceship. Vig had come to celebrate Sora's birthday, so he'd sped up his trip and gave Sora the stones he'd collected from the moon and the Big Chest planet as a gift. But in fact, Vig was the key reason Sora hadn't rashly launched an attack on the Elves' alliance. Because the dwarves once had a game battle against the elves, and in the end, the dwarves beat the elves 2 wins to 1 loss. So Sora had actually been waiting for Vig to come back, wanting to learn from him what kind of person the elves' leader Orie really is. After Sora asked, Vig told him that the elves' leader is actually a completely purposeless man. So just what kind of purposeless man is he? Here, the novel sets it aside for now and turns to the other side. At the same time Vig was meeting Sora, Jibril and Amir Ain suddenly teleported to a spot in the city because they'd discovered that someone had taken advantage of the chaos of the spaceship's landing to sneak into the city while invisible. As Jibril and Amir Ain used their abilities to find and expose this person, the Daemonia's current top officer, the Daemonia's greatest brain, Schera Ha, appeared before the two. The moment Schera Ha appeared, she politely greeted Jibril and the others, took out a note, and, reading from it, said to them, "Tonight, we've come to deliver despair to you. The moment for our Demon King's army to destroy the world has finally arrived." After that, Schera Ha said her purpose was to challenge Jibril and Amir Ain to a game. Schera Ha would wipe out these two on the spot. Jibril and company weren't afraid, so the 3 swore to the covenants and started a match. About 3 minutes later, Schera Ha was thoroughly thrashed and utterly lost to Jibril and company. After this, time quickly reached the 4th day after the festival ended. Because Vog suddenly returned to this planet, Tyr chose to stay by Sora's side to avoid that uncle of hers who'd harass her. And just as Sora was preparing to deal with the Elves' alliance next, Jibril and Amir Ain suddenly appeared and told Sora they'd captured the Daemonia's former high-ranking officer, Schera Ha. The reason they only came to report 4 days later is that these two had made a bet on whose photo Sora would use first to reward himself. So over these 4 days, they'd been hiding in the shadows watching Sora. And it wasn't until today that Amir Ain remembered Schera Ha's existence. Meanwhile, Schera Ha had been locked in the dungeon for 4 days with no food or water. When Sora found out, he hurriedly took Shiro, Izuna, Tyr, and Steph and led people to the cells. Seeing Sora in person, Schera Ha was deeply impressed. She said to Sora, "To think you could use an interrogation method even crueler than us Daemonia, trapping me here 4 days with no food or water, a way of crushing someone's spirit that still obeys the covenants. What a marvelous strategy." Seeing that after saying this, Schera Ha almost couldn't catch her breath and was about to pass out. A startled Sora hurriedly called for food and drink to be brought, saving her. While saving Schera Ha, Sora asked Jibril and the others about things. From their explanation, first, the race Schera Ha belongs to, the 11th ranked Daemonia, was created by the Demon King, a mutation of the Phantasma, for the purpose of destroying the world. So the Daemonia actually have no common form. Among them, there are beastmen, goblins, and slimes, as well as skeletons, chimeras, and other monster-shaped beings. On the very day of Sora's birthday, Schera Ha suddenly came to pick a fight, and Jibril and company didn't hold back. In the end, Schera Ha lost the match. The victorious Jibril nearly demanded Schera Ha end herself on the spot. Luckily, Amir Ain said, "We should await Sora's judgment. which saved Schera Ha's life and left her imprisoned in the dungeon. The reason Jabril and company forgot about Schera Ha's existence is that, in their eyes, the Daemonia pose no threat. This is because 408 years ago, the Demon King was suddenly sealed away by someone. And after the Daemonia's boss suddenly vanished, the Daemonia rarely showed themselves. Just as Jabril explained this far, Schera Ha recovered her wits and corrected Sora. They are not a no-threat race. Then, Schera Ha raised her fist and shouted to the sky, "This is the moment of the Demon King's revival!" The words had barely fallen when the sky suddenly clouded over dark with lightning and thunder. And the next moment, Sora and company were teleported into a wasteland while a mass of black stuff drifted down from the sky. From within the black mass came a dangerous voice, saying, "You are the beast that devours hope, the undying fantasy. I am the Demon King." Then, the black mass suddenly scattered, and Sora and company froze. For before their eyes, a two-headed chibi with furry wings, a mascot like a plush toy. The Demon King was flying in the sky. Sora's group was stunned, thinking, this thing? A lisping plush toy spouting cringy teenage lines? Is the Demon King? But soon, the surroundings changed back to the Amanity Royal Castle, though the doll-like Demon King was still flying in midair. Just as the Demon King put on an arrogant look and was about to say something, Izuna reached her limit and dashed out with a whoosh, treating the Demon King as a furball and playing with it, running around, while the Demon King had zero power to resist. Seeing the Demon King posed no threat at all, Jabril and Amorines continued explaining to Sora. First, the world's second-ranked race, the Phantasma, are actually a kind of phenomenon that already occurred in ancient times, born from everyone's shared fantasy giving it form. But the Demon King is special. The Demon King is a being fantasized from the destruction of the world, a phenomenon that has never occurred. Precisely because the Demon King is the embodiment of the concept destroy the world, the Demon King goes everywhere spouting lines about destroying the world. But the Demon King's true body is a vast other space, made up of the Domain of Despair and the Demon King's Tower. Before the 6,000-year Great War, most Daemonia lived within this other space, and the Demon King's true core is hidden inside the tower. Only by destroying the core can the Demon King truly be killed. The Demon King's real threat lies in its Domain of Despair. This other space can keep expanding and gradually erode the real world. Once an ordinary person enters the Demon King's Domain of Despair, their consciousness keeps being eroded by despair until even the will to survive is stripped away, turning them into a walking corpse. During the Great War 6,000 years ago, many tried to defeat the Demon King and charged into the tower, but all went in and never returned. So this incredibly strong Demon King was finally sealed by the Ex Machina and the Flugel. Or rather, most races discovered that as long as you don't enter the tower, but instead bombard the tower's exterior with saturation attacks and just blow it up, the Demon King gets sealed and can't act for at least 58 years. Speaking of 6,000 years ago, of the group of Daemonia officers around the Demon King, only this Schera Ha, who calls herself the Wise General, escaped the other race's devastating strikes. Not that she's as clever as her name suggests. Emir Ainz even said the Daemonia's average intelligence is very low, and Schera Ha is the weakest of the officers. It's just that whenever a battle turned unfavorable, Schera Ha would grease her heels and be the first to flee, which is how Schera Ha survived to this day. And 6,000 years ago, after Tet appeared, the world was reorganized. The domain of despair now only appears inside the tower, no longer spreading across the whole world as before, so the Demon King's power was effectively weakened. But because the Demonia's race piece can only be controlled by the Demon King, once the Demon King is sealed, the Demonia simply can't be fully conquered. So usually no one bothers with the low-intelligence, uncontrollable Demonia. Right now, this little Demon King half-body doll is actually a fragment of the Demon King that Schera Ha owns, combined with her own power, a portion of the Demon King's true body. And because of the covenants, after Schera Ha lost to Jabril and company, Schera Ha's possessions also became theirs, meaning the little Demon King doll can only obey their commands and became Izuna's plaything. By all logic, Schera Ha and the Demon King's split body are harmless and can simply be ignored. But Tyr suddenly jumped in to tell Sora that the Demon King isn't as harmless as they imagine. While Tyr was explaining, our view jumps to the new Humanity Nation formed by the Commerce Union. Karami and company had just obtained intel that the Demon King visited Sora. From Feel and the others' explanation, it turns out that during the Great War, 6,000 years ago, after the Demon King was sealed, it actually slept for about 5,000 years. But 415 years ago, the Demon King suddenly revived and spread a message to the whole world saying, as long as someone enters the tower for a challenge, using hope as a weapon to reach the top floor and defeat the Demon King, they can obtain everything the Demon King has. So at the time, a huge crowd of heroes from all races went to challenge the tower. But in the end, not one was spared. All lost to the Demon King, going in and never returning. But 409 years ago, 500,000 dwarves suddenly vanished. And in that same year, the Demon King was suddenly sealed. Though the covenants restrict this, Feel analyzed that the Demon King used the domain of despair to swallow the dwarves' territory, and without malice, absorbed 500,000 dwarves. But soon after, the dwarves' leader of the time took a group to the tower, challenged it over 100 times, and only withdrew intact after ending in a draw, after which the Demon King was sealed again. Feel analyzed. Sora and company, who are collecting the pieces, upon learning that someone succeeded in a challenge, will now definitely enter the tower to challenge the Demon King. A fierce battle between Sora and the Demon King is likely imminent. Now the tale splits in two. After learning from Tyr about the Demon King's game and the dwarves' past challenge, Sora, with the intent to quickly conquer the Daemonia and break the elves' alliance apart, immediately took his sister Shiro, Steph, Jabril, Amir Ainz, Tyr, and Izuna, 7 in all, and, led by the Demon King and Schera Ha, teleported to the continent where the Daemonia now live. The Daemonia actually live on a continent very close to the South Pole, with an average annual temperature of about minus 34 degrees. Luckily, Schera Ha had made arrangements, having another Daemonia officer, the Skeleton Clan's chieftain, Gainao, drive a centaur-drawn carriage to pick them up, so Sora and company didn't have to trudge the whole way through the ice and snow. When Sora and company reached the Daemonia's city, Sora was stunned by everything before him. Sora had assumed the low-average intelligence Daemonia would live somewhere like caves, but he never expected the Daemonia to live inside a highly developed city full of high-rises. It turned out this was all Schera Ha's doing. She used the traits of the various monster clans under the Daemonia, having them divide labor and take up different trades, and during the Demon King's absence, she enacted laws and formed a council, strictly requiring an 8-hour workday, 4 days on and 3 days off. The race that most obeys labor law was thus born. And the reason Schera Ha did this is that she wants to realize the Demon King's great ideal. Destroy the world! But to destroy the world, you must have strong national power. So during the Demon King's sealing, Schera Ha used the ideal of everyone is equal to build the Demonia into a fair, selfless, clearly divided nation. The even more impressive thing about Schera Ha is that she doesn't even claim credit. She attributes all of this to the Demon King already having planned it out. Schera Ha says all this was by the Demon King's will, and only after her own deep interpretation did she grasp the deeper meaning and build the Daemonia this way. Simply put, Schera Ha is basically a female military strategist. The Demon King, too, is thick-skinned enough to keep insisting, yes, exactly, that's just what I was thinking, though the Demon King never actually gave the Daemonia's affairs a single thought. After learning all this, Steph could hardly wait to poach Schera Ha back to her own country and make Schera Ha her direct superior. Steph thought, this is hardly a race that's not smart enough. Isn't this a politician with off-the-charts intelligence? But it's precisely because Schera Ha is so shrewd that after Sora's group arrived, they had nowhere to stay. Because everyone obeys labor law so strictly that the inn for foreign guests simply didn't open at night. Luckily, the tower has staff on duty, so the group didn't rest much and went straight to the Demon King's true body, the tower. There, Schera Ha told everyone the rules of the game to come. First, Sora and company would form a 5-person hero party, and the 2 extra people could be placed in a bag-like reserve pouch as substitutes to swap with teammates outside at any time. As long as the 5-person hero party finally breaks into the 100th floor at the tower's top and defeats the Demon King's core there, victory is declared. You may not leave the tower before the game ends, and any forfeit counts as a loss. During the game, they'll use a weapon called Hope to deal with the on-duty daemon monsters on each floor. This so-called hope is actually the part of the soul that makes up the will to survive. As mentioned earlier, this world's magic mostly derives from the application of the soul, except the Demon King's application is devouring the part of the soul that is the will to survive. And so as not to violate labor law, the on-duty Daemonia monsters in the tower work 6-hour shifts in a 4-shift rotation. And it even counts as overtime, with allowances. Reading this made me jealous. How is this a world-destroying demon race? This is pure communism. Anyway, after the game was explained, everyone swore to the covenants, and the group entered the bizarrely shaped tower. For ease of explanation, Schera Ha entered the tower ahead of them too. The tower's first floor is a preparation room with no monsters, and here 7 orbs of light were prepared. After each person touched an orb, the will to survive part of their soul was made manifest, turning the orb into the powerful personal weapon each most wanted in their heart. Soon, everyone obtained a sniper rifle, a fully automatic rifle, giant cat claws, a scythe, drone floating cannons, a large shield, and a reinforced hammer. Along with the weapons, an HP bar, and an MP bar, the magic consumed by using weapons and skills, appeared over everyone's heads. But strangely, Sora's and his sister's HP bars were so short it was like they'd die from the slightest touch. Yet their MP bars were a bit longer than others. While Steph's MP bar was very short, but her HP bar was 3 times others. Schera Ha's explanation for this difference was that it has no special meaning, it's simply the result of making hope manifest. Sora and company later found through experiments that the magic Jabril and the others can use here seems to be only 1% of their original magic power. And after Emir Ainz ran the numbers, they learned that Forcing Jabril to use teleportation magic here would drain Jabril's MP completely. Judging from the current state, this game holds many unsolved mysteries that need experiments to verify their specific meaning. So, Sora had Jabril and Amir Rines go into the reserve pouch as substitutes, and had Izuna carry Sora and Shiro, while Tyr carried Steph, having the two highest agility people try to sprint straight to the top floor and avoid all battles to see if they could end the game without any fighting. But Sora and company soon hit their first obstacle. It turned out the tower has a mini-boss room every 10 floors, and without beating the mini-boss, you can't open the door to the next floor's passage. Although the first mini-boss, the Minotaur Chieftain, was huge and wielded a giant axe, Sora and company beat it easily. But through this fight, Tyr, Izuna, and the others lost at least 10% of their MP. At the same time, Sora clearly noticed that during the fight, when the Minotaur Chieftain's HP dropped past half, its attacks grew sluggish and even listless. And just as they were about to zero out its HP, under labor law protection, Schera Ha teleported the 1% HP Minotaur Chieftain out of the tower to go on paid leave. So inside this tower, fighting never actually causes anyone's death. But as they fought on, Sora noticed something wrong. On the 26th floor, Tyr, having spent too much MP, began to break down all on her own. Although each mini-boss killed restores a bit of HP and MP, the MP recovery simply couldn't keep up with consumption. To hold off enemy attacks, Sora even summoned out Emir Ain's midway to swap in and defend. But Emir Ain's used up all her MP in a single move and instantly entered an extremely negative state, the kind where she even wanted to give up on living. Only then did Sora realize that MP and HP are both manifestations of the soul's will to survive, and every point spent pushes a person toward negativity and despair. Once MP is nearly used up and there's no means of attack, with only an HP bar left, one can only sit and wait for death. And by now, Sora too, having spent quite a bit of MP, found his own thinking turning ever more negative, unable to judge what to do next. Just as the 26th floor Daemonia kept closing in on Sora, before he could react, nearly getting killed in one hit by the Daemonia, Steph and Tyr rushed out and blocked in front of Sora. Sora didn't even realize his hand had accidentally touched Tyr's stomach and Steph's chest, and Steph, unable to mind being touched, instinctively used her taunt skill, making all the monsters attack her. And at that moment, Sora found the MP in his status bar had actually recovered a little. Sora suddenly seemed to understand something, and without a word, he had his weapon of hope change form into a flashbang and threw it at the Daemonia. After the flash went off, the Daemonia's HP bars hadn't decreased at all, yet the Daemonia were all knocked down. Seeing this, Sora, as if he'd gotten some confirmation, asked Tyr, when the dwarf party came to conquer the tower before, were they all married couples? Tyr answered, that's right. 400 years ago, the dwarves' leader came to conquer the tower with his 6 wives. Sora blurted out a curse and roared, so it really was a harem party. Go blow up, all of ya! But after cursing, Sora seemed quite certain of how to restore hope, so he hurriedly swapped Jabril out of the reserve pouch, had her spend all her MP, and teleport everyone back to the first floor so they could regroup. Once everyone was back on the first floor, Jabril made a grand collapsing entrance, coming in going, "Oh, I'm useless. It's all my fault. Take my body and feed it to the dogs." Which made Sora doubt whether Jabril had even broken down at all, since her state looked exactly like normal. By now, though, most of the hero party had psychological issues of varying degrees from spending over half their MP. Steph anxiously asked Sora what to do next, and Sora confidently told Steph he'd already found the method to restore HP and MP. By the theory of Sora's original world, this so-called HP is actually the brain's emotional stress resistance, and this so-called MP is actually the brain's emotional aggression. This is why lowering MP gradually breaks a person down, because once that aggression in one's mental state vanishes, a person starts heading toward depression. And Tyr found that this theory is remarkably close to one summarized 4,000 years ago by an elf who always thought about boosting muscle strength to increase magic power. That person's theory held that magic comes from the spirits within the body, and that emotions are governed by two kinds of spirits, yin and yang, which make up only 1% of the whole soul's capacity. So, by this theory, it perfectly proves why Jabril and the others can only use 1% of their magic in the tower. And these theories also indirectly prove that Sora and his sister's low HP, high MP is entirely because their stress resistance is very weak and their aggression very strong. While Steph is the opposite. She never broke down even under the daily humiliation of being stripped bare by Sora and company, showing her stress resistance is extremely strong. Actually, before coming to the tower, Sora had vaguely sensed some issues with the game's content during his talk with Tyr, and this was now confirmed in the game. After Sora touched Steph's chest, because it produced excitement and pleasure, he successfully seized the emotional high ground, so Sora's MP recovered greatly. This is also why, 400 years ago, when the Dwarf Harem King conquered the tower, he could ultimately draw with the Demon King. After all, with a harem along, you all understand what happens in between, right? But Sora believes that aside from that, as long as one's mental state can be satisfied, MP can likewise recover, which is also why defeating the Demonia in the tower yields a small MP recovery. And Tyr is precisely the talent Sora specially brought to help everyone. After all, over these many years under the dwarves' discrimination, Tyr still lives lively and has never abandoned her ideals. So Sora brought Tyr to teach everyone how to quickly restore their mental state. Tyr didn't hold back and immediately told everyone her secret. The best way to restore your mental state is to exercise more, rest more, eat and drink well, and laugh a lot. Since this could restore MP, Sora right there exploited a bug in the game rules. The rules only said you can't quit the game, but they didn't say you can't just hole up in the tower and slack off resting. Plus, the tower's first floor is set as a place where no Daemonia attack. So Sora made this place a base, planning to return here to rest whenever HP or MP ran low. On top of that, since Schera Ha had already lost to Jibril and company, she had to obey their commands. So Sora had Schera Ha bring beds, tents to sleep in, food, and other supplies, making Sora's group as cozy as if camping. And with Tyr and Steph's help, everyone ate good food, slept soundly, and did aerobic exercise. Soon, hormones like endorphins and dopamine all rose, letting Sora and company fully restore their MP. But when Sora and company prepared to conquer the tower again, they adjusted their strategy. This time, Sora planned to conquer floor by floor together with the mobs, one at a time. Because Schera Ha had also said earlier that the tower actually hides many treasure chests, and the treasures inside are weapons and armor formed from the hope left behind by challengers who previously failed the tower. Sora believed that upon obtaining these treasures, the sense of gain would increase MP recovery. And so everyone conquered the mobs floor by floor while learning some control skills and cutting down MP consumption, all while continually searching the tower for chests. Soon, Sora and company found the first chest's location and obtained the first piece of equipment. But not knowing its effect, Sora had Steph put it on to test it. And it turned out to be a 50% block bikini armor. The kind so extremely revealing, it's like wearing nothing. Though it looks very revealing, this equipment combined with Steph's shield skill can keep her from losing a drop of HP when the Daemonia attack. Discovering this, Steph happily volunteered to move to the front and clear the way for everyone. As time passed, Steph suddenly felt a chill all over, and looking down, found the armor had shattered and vanished. After all, this equipment was left behind by people who previously failed the tower, and the residual hope was low to begin with, so naturally the equipment's durability wasn't high either. But after Steph's clothes shattered, Sora deliberately lied to Steph, saying the clothes she'd worn before had gone who knows where, and just had Steph block up front undressed like that to soak up damage for everyone. Although Sora said any chest they found later would priority outfit Steph, in reality, Sora was treating Steph as a healer restoring his MP. The more embarrassed Steph got, the more excited Sora got. The more excited Sora got, the faster his MP recovered. And so, Sora and company kept conquering toward the top. During it, they also found that previously conquered mini-bosses don't reappear when passing their floors again, so their second run quickly reached the tower's 30th floor. But by now, everyone's MP was over half spent, and by the earlier plan, they should teleport back to floor 1, rest a full, then continue. Sora suddenly proposed, "Let's first peek at what the 30th floor boss looks like, then decide." Little did they know, the 30th floor had no door at all. The moment they arrived, everyone went straight into a boss fight against a giant stone giant. Everyone had zero prep time, and though Steph and Tyr barely tanked all the stone giant's attacks, Izuna and Tyr's counterattacks were like tickling, barely scratching the stone giant's HP. In this dire moment, Sora suddenly shouted, having Jabril and Emerines come out of the reserve pouch to buy time and hold the stone giant, while Sora, Shiro, and Steph were swapped into the pouch to rest. Steph was stunned. The party's best damage tank was being swapped out as a substitute, and if there were a single slip, the whole team might be wiped out. But Sora ignored Steph's doubts and, per his plan, took Steph into the cramped reserve pouch. But because Steph had once again shattered her newly obtained bikini armor tanking the stone giant, Steph was now completely undressed. On top of that, the pouch could only fit 2 people standing, and now cramming in 3 made the space extremely tight. The sudden skin contact left Steph mortified. Steph asked Sora, "What exactly are you going to do?" Sora replied, he was going to do what that dwarf harem king did 400 years ago. Hearing this, Steph flushed red up to her ears and shouted, "If you're going to do that kind of thing, don't you know to do it away from others? Your sister is only 12. You're going to do those things?" Sora said, "So what? Didn't my sister already agree earlier?" This left Steph's heart racing, not daring to say more, only closing her eyes and waiting for the storm to hit. Then she heard Sora whisper in her ear, "Come on, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and dote on us. Give us quiet hugs. Praise us." It turned out Sora had no intention of doing that married couple act at all. He purely planned to use this chance for mutual skin contact to have Steph praise Sora and Shiro like a mother, using the oxytocin produced from contact with a woman's skin to heal the 2 siblings' hearts. After hearing Sora's purpose, Steph was mortified and furious. She originally wanted to refuse on the spot in anger, but the 4 people outside the pouch, Though they didn't know what Sora was doing, hearing Steph wouldn't cooperate immediately appealed to her with reason and feeling, saying that for the team to escape danger quickly, Steph should just go comfort Sora. In the end, Steph could only sigh at the heavens and, consoling herself with, for the sake of saving the world, decided to go all in and play the mother of the blank siblings. This round of caressing Sora and company actually cheered Sora and Shiro up, and then their MP exceeded its previous length and recovered to full. Finally, Sora and Shiro left the pouch, swapping Izuna, Tyr, Jibril, and Emir Ainz back into it. Sora and Shiro planned to take on the stone giant themselves. By rights, the stone giant that even Izuna couldn't beat has combat and defensive power surpassing ordinary humans. But Sora and company had a plan ready. Shiro first fired bouncing rounds and space rounds from her guns to draw the stone man's attention. Sora used buckshot to pierce the stone man's armor, then used incendiary rounds and poison rounds to gradually inflict status ailments, and finally, Sora used a sensor detonation device to reflect the stone man's own explosive attacks entirely back onto itself, whittling the stone man's HP down to 1%, until it was defeated and teleported out of the tower. And Sora and company's composed manner made even Schera Ha and the Demon King himself, watching the fight from outside the tower, start to feel Sora and company might really be the only true heroes able to reach the top and defeat the Demon King. Then the next moment, looking at Sora and company again, because of excessive MP consumption, Sora and Shiro collapsed on the spot. One saying he's a virgin who only holds others back, the other saying she's a useless girl whose chest will never grow. Both sprawled on the ground, unable to move, which sent Jibril and company hurriedly out of the pouch to bring them back to the first floor. Seeing all this from outside, the Demon King and Schera Ha fell deep into self-doubt. But after this, Sora and company seemed to grasp the knack, targeting 10 floors every day or two, and steadily exploring. And because the Demonia obey labor law so strictly, the Demonia substitutes in the tower kept dwindling. The monster's strength kept rising, but their numbers slowly shrank. So at this rate, it wouldn't be long before they reached the top. But upon reaching the 80th floor, Sora and company planned to first glance at what the 81st floor looked like, then return to floor 1 to rest. But the moment they peeked at the 81st floor scene, everyone froze in place, unable to move. Although the tower's scenery differs every 10 floors, before this, the scenery had been natural wonders like forests, cliffs, and caves. But this 81st floor's landscape was strewn everywhere with the remains of corpses, and the distant flickering firelight confirmed this floor's scenery was a living hell under the flames of war. And this scenery made Sora suddenly understand what the Demon King really is. As said before, the Phantasma are creatures born from people's fantasies about things that actually occurred in reality. But the Demon King is actually the scapegoat born from the dark side of people's hearts on this planet. Because everyone in life treats those who oppose them as villains and themselves as good people, always ignoring the evil they themselves do. And once publicly interrogated, they all say the evil they did was because a demon tempted me into it. So the Demon King, which specifically produces demons, became in everyone's fantasy the representative of harming and destroying the world. From the moment of its birth, the Demon King is a phantasma created to be struck down by justice, which is why the Demon King keeps spouting lines about destroying the world. But in reality, the Demon King truly hopes a hero will come defeat it, so as to thoroughly eliminate the world's absolute evil. After Sora explained all this, everyone was speechless. Steph anxiously asked Sora whether there was a way to save the Demon King. Sora smiled and told Steph no. Sora had made no preparations other than defeating the Demon King. And so, everyone once again fell silent. Just as Sora and company were about to return to the first floor to rearrange strategy and deliberate carefully, the world outside the tower was undergoing a great upheaval. First, the red moon in the sky suddenly flew toward the ground. The Flugel's base, the Phantasma Avantheim, its core was now gazing toward where the Demon King was, as if pondering something. And the Skeleton Clan chieftain who'd received Sora and company earlier suddenly tore off his outer skin, revealing his true face. It turned out he was a red-eyed girl dressed as a one-horned rabbit. Now, this girl, gazing at the falling red moon, said, "Everything is within the moon deity's control." So, will the Demon King be defeated? Who is the rabbit-like girl? And how will Sora and company deal with the elves? To find out what happens next, please tune in. This is the latest volume, right? So the rest of the story can only be quietly awaited from Yu Kamiya's furious writing. What do you all think of this series story? Which anime's original work continuation would you like to see? Feel free to leave a comment and let us know. That's all for this video. The more likes, the faster the updates. See you next video.